All set? Yep. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Monday, August 26, 2024 Eden Prairie Planning Commission meeting to order. For those of you watching live at home, we're about 10 minutes delayed due to a weather delay, but we'll get started now. Would everybody please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, Commissioners, first thing on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have a comment on tonight's agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Kirk. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Second item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. This goes way back to May 28th. So I think the minutes were in our packet. Does anybody have any comments on those minutes from May 28th, 2024? If not, I'll take a motion on that as well.
Motion to approve the minutes from May 28th,
Thank you,
2024.
Commissioner Taylor. Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Duncan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, this evening, we have one public hearing on the agenda. It is for 11609 Leona Road redevelopment. It's a request for a planned unit development concept review on 3.44 acres, a planned unit development amendment with waivers on 3.44 acres, and site plan review on 3.44 acres. I'll ask the applicant if they want to make a short presentation to the commission first, then we'll go to a staff report from Planner Barnhart, and then if anybody in the audience wishes to speak, I'll open it up for a public hearing before our commissioner deliberates. So if the applicant could come forward, state your name and address and company, and welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Trent Mayberry. I'm with Toll Development Company, and we're the applicant this evening for our proposed Office Depot redevelopment here in Eden Prairie. We've got I do have some of my team here with me tonight in case there's any technical questions. I've got Kathy Anderson from Architectural Consortium, and I've got Matt Lingham from Kimley Horn, who's our architect and civil engineer. So what we'd like to do is just go through a brief presentation here with some slides and introduce you to our project. So this is going to be a Planet Fitness and a Starbucks. Let's see if I can get this one working properly. Just the arrows, Jeremy?
Yeah, but turn it up
Oh, that's key, huh?
on the side there.
There we go. Live. Thank you. So this is the project location. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, but this is the former Office Depot, circled in red up on the screen. There's Best Buy to the north, Cub Foods to the east. You can see the mall to the south, and then bordered on Flying Cloud Drive on the west of the site. Currently, what sits on the site today is a vacant Office Depot building that's 33,000 square feet. There's some images of it on the screen and an aerial of the existing site. You can see that the landscaping's pretty overrun, the parking lot's in desperate need of repair, and the building, it's hanging in there, but obviously Office Depot is not. Like I said, this is a 33,000 square foot building. We purchased this maybe about 2 years ago, knowing that Office Depot was likely not going to renew their lease. And sure enough, this June, they passed on renewing their lease. And in advance of that, we had been talking to retailers out there in the marketplace, active, and came up with what we thought was a great solution. Let me go to this next slide. And what we're proposing to do is take the 33,000 square foot box that Office Depot was in, which we didn't have a tenant to backfill the space with, and renovate the building so that's got a modernized storefront, reuse a good chunk of the building, 3/4 of the building and right-size it for a tenant that's actively expanding in the market. This building, we are downsizing from 33,000 square feet to 18,500 square feet for a Planet Fitness, which is not currently located in Eden Prairie, but has been actively looking for a site for, I don't know, probably a decade. And this has allowed us to expand the parking lot to satisfy Planet Fitness's demands from a parking standpoint and the city's demands. In addition, because we've downsized the building, it's freed up even more land to where we can do some outlot development. And if you look at the northwest corner of the property, you can see that there's a small building up there, and that would be a freestanding Starbucks with a drive-through. And in the northeast corner, then we've got an area that's not going to be touched in this phase of the development, but that is at the corner of Den Road and Leona Road, and that's a future area for development. So by downsizing the building, we freed up land to where we can actually add more users than just one. That's what we're proposing doing here tonight, and I'd like to show you what the buildings themselves would look like. So this is the renovated 18,500 square foot portion of the Office Depot box with a new facade and a new tenant panel, but it will be one tenant in the building. We've got the signed lease with Planet Fitness, and their entry will face east, where all that whole new field of parking is located. And then we'll be adding glazing on that storefront, and then we'll be adding some glazing on the north elevation as well. So both the north and east elevation will add a ton more windows than what is there today, which is just basically a warehouse. And here's a picture of the Starbucks building. This, unlike the Planet Fitness building, this will be 100% brand new. So it'll be a ground-up development. We've worked extensively with Jeremy and the planning staff to come up with a design that matches the existing brick building that we're going to reuse for Planet Fitness, while at the same time putting a bit of a modern spin on the design, having some vertical articulation and nice canopies. But you can see there's some elements throughout the design where we've got the brick stone knee wall matches the stone knee wall on the existing building, and then similar color bricks as well. And then with the redevelopment of our site and our proposed project here, we do have some sustainability highlights that we wanted to make sure you are all aware of also. So you can see we've got above ground and below ground stormwater management, some irrigation reuse, stormwater rate, quality and quantity controls, improved pedestrian bicycle connectivity, enhanced landscaping, and at Starbucks there'll be some EV charging stations as well. So with that, I would turn it over to all of you. If you have any questions, be happy to answer any that you might have. And again, I can bring up my team too if there's any technical questions that I can address.
Thank you, Mr. Mulberry. Appreciate the presentation. Staff, any initial questions of Mr. Mulberry about the presentation? Commissioner Taylor?
You mentioned that there's going to be some EV charging stations at Starbucks. Are there any plans to add them to the existing building that you're reducing?
There's nothing. No, there's nothing planned for the existing building, but at the Starbucks there are, and they're shown on the site plan.
Okay. Is there any reason why you're not adding any EVs at the existing?
Planet Fitness hasn't requested them at this time, and we feel like that at Starbucks it's a good start. If we feel like there's more demand for them, it's something we could always add down the road, but it's just something that we haven't felt was needed right now.
I have a question or two. On that potential future retail development in the northeast corner.
Yes.
So it looks like because you're adding the driveway off of Den Road on the east, this potential future development is already sized. And since you're asking for a variance on the Starbucks outlot, I want to make sure that if you've tested the size of this second corner so that you wouldn't have to come back for a variance on that future redevelopment, so that you don't put the driveway in the wrong place or something now that would create a burden that would require you to request a variance in the future?
The two driveways that we show, one off Leona, that will stay. The one on the east-west bifurcating the shopping center will stay. The one up in the northeast corner likely will be closed off. To answer your question, though, we don't have a deal planned yet for the future development area, so it's impossible to answer that right now. I wish we did because we'd like to develop everything at once, but yeah, we just don't have a user yet that's locked in.
Okay, all right, that'll be something.
But we do know that when we get to that point, that we'll have to come back through and get site plan approval again.
Right. Yeah, we're just trying to look ahead because obviously you're configuring that site right now, if
Right.
you will. And so we want you to take authorship for that configuration to make sure that everything will fit later. Okay, understood. On your site lighting plan, you're providing new pole lights, LED, on your new lot to the east of the Planet Fitness and in the Starbucks, but you didn't propose any lighting changes in the existing lot, that corner lot specifically. Are those already LED, so there'll be a nice color match in the meantime before you figure it out? Or is that something that's gonna be a different color and lighting for a while?
You know, that's a great question. To answer the first part of it, the Starbucks and the Planet Fitness will both have brand new lighting. When the future development area is developed, that will have brand new lighting as well. We're working with staff to put a time limit on that, though. What we don't want to do is put stuff in and then have to rip it out. But at the same time, we don't want to have it there for 5 years, having the old lighting. So we'll be working with Jeremy and staff to come up with a timeline to put in the development agreement that will say if we haven't developed that phase within a certain period of time, that we'll have to go ahead and change out the lights.
Good, okay, fair and reasonable. And then we were given some emails on our desk this evening, some correspondence with staff from your neighbor, where the Qdoba Restaurant and Caribou Coffee building is. I think it's 11611 or something like that. I forget the exact address. You're fully aware of that.
I saw those tonight, yeah.
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 So could you comment on Mr. Mueller? Eric Mueller was the gentleman's name who's been corresponding with staff. He's not here this evening, I don't believe. But could you have any comment about his concerns?
Yeah, like I said, I was only able to look at them this evening, but we've had conversations with Mr. Mueller from the start of the process to make him aware of what we were doing and to talk about how we could work together on solutions that would benefit his property, enhance the overall neighborhood, and rising tide raises all ship kind of solution. And the comments that I saw in the email tonight, I had not seen those before, but I saw the back and forth between Sarah Strain on the planning department at the City of Eden Prairie with Mr. Mueller. And I thought the solutions that she proposed and he acknowledged from her were entirely manageable, and look forward to implementing those and working with staff to address them.
Okay, all right. I would imagine maybe some of the more important and potentially stickier comments might be just the internal site directional signage.
Right.
Because now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 businesses that'll be accessed through some shared driveways.
Right.
2 of them being direct head-to-head competitors.
Yes, and I do know one comment that he made was that he was concerned that it was a one-way road coming in off of Den in front of Planet Fitness over to his site, and that's not the case. It is a two-way road with traffic. I mean, when we looked at this, we've developed a lot of shopping centers, and we really want to make sure that when we do it, that it's convenient, easy for people to get in and out of. We want our tenants to do well, and by a function of wanting our tenants to do well, we also want his to do well. I do think that his property valuation will increase significantly based upon the rents we're achieving and the tenants that we're bringing to the center compared to what's there today. So I think ultimately we'll be able to address the signage questions as well as the circulation questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Commissioners, any more questions before we go to the staff report? Seeing none. Jeremy, you want to take us to the staff report? Thank you, Mr. Mulberry. Appreciate it.
Yes, and it's Mayberry, by the way.
My
But that's
apologies.
okay.
My
Well, Mulberry's a good name, too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. As the applicant mentioned, there are 3 requests tonight: a PUD concept, a PUD district amendment, because the property is already zoned PU with the PUD zoning, and then a site plan approval for the modifications to this project. Mentioned the Starbucks and then the Planet Fitness that are proposed. As part of this development review, we reviewed the landscaping, we reviewed access and stacking and just general kind of overall improvement of the site. And the applicant touched on something that I want to kind of bring to your attention. We are progressing with this review, assuming nothing happens in the northeast corner of the project. So landscaping meets, parking meets the requirements, circulation meets the requirements, if nothing happens in that northeast corner. The applicant has already expressed an interest in putting a new user in that space, and then when that user comes through, we will review the parking, the access, circulation at that time. So this project can function without that new addition coming forward, whether it's 6 months down the line or 2 years down the line. And then our development agreement, recognizing the timing is kind of unique because we generally like to bring a full project together. Due to timing constraints with the Planet Fitness property, we needed to move this one along a little bit before that kind of third piece was solved. And the applicant intends to request early demolition and early land alteration to kind of facilitate the Planet Fitness project. So I guess the larger point here is we're looking at this project based on what you see in front of you now, but we also have an eye toward the future in terms of what might be happening once we get more information there. There are 2 waivers requested. One is from the shoreland, the hardcover impervious surface limitations of 30%. That's current requirement. The property is roughly 75% hardcover at this point. So the waiver that's requested sets that level at 75%. Currently, the property is legal non-conforming. What we're doing is with this waiver, we're allowing up to the 75% hardcover. And then as long as this project or the future project comes in less than that 75%, you won't need to see a waiver for that. The second waiver is requested for the Starbucks building. There's a 35-foot setback off of Leona Road. They're proposing a 27-foot setback for the building. That waiver we felt was justified based on the uniqueness of the site, the amount of encroachment, and then the design of the parking and the circulation within the property. Usually with setback waivers, we're cognizant of impacts to visual impacts to the neighbors, sight lines, landscaping and screening and things of that nature. In this setback, we don't lose any of those goals. So we felt supportive of the waiver as requested here. Just kind of reviewing the project in terms of landscaping. There had been some comments from the public about kind of the overall kind of quote-unquote cleanliness of the landscaping on the site, and the applicant and the city will work together to kind of identify additional improvements to the existing landscaping, trimming, and things of that nature, maintenance, to help improve sightlines and also the general health of the landscaping. Additionally, the plan shows some additional landscaping and parking lot islands in the northeast corner of the property where the new kind of the third user would happen. Again, as a good example, we anticipate something happening there, but if nothing happens, we have a plan in place to bring that area into compliance with our city code. In terms of uses, both uses are allowed in the applicable zoning district. The Planet Fitness is a fitness center, but it's considered retail for our purposes and for parking purposes, and the parking lot does support the proposed use there. The fitness center is a good use in terms of peak parking requirements and sharing within a shopping center, because the fitness center may have different peaks, or likely will have different peaks than a restaurant or other uses in the property. The applicant, or Mr. Chair, mentioned the comments received from the applicant's neighbor about access and visibility of the site. There is two-way traffic through the site. There is going to be some coordination necessary during construction because of in-ground utility work and connections that can't be moved because of that's where they are now. But that's something that we're confident we can work through in the permitting process. In terms of the building sustainability requirement, the Starbucks building is subject to the sustainable building standards because there is a waiver requested. There's kind of two factors or two parts to what we normally will see as a part of a sustainable building standard. One is kind of the exterior changes, the EV parking spaces, the solar panels, those type of features. And the site plan does reflect EV parking stalls and then the ability for future connection or future enhancements of a solar panel. The other part of that is kind of how the building's designed. Is it designed to meet the LEED standards? At this level of our review, at the site plan level, we don't usually get to that level of detail. Those answers or questions are answered during the building permit process. And so the applicant understands the issue, understands the requirement, and we're confident that those will be reflected in the building permit once those are issued. And of course, the Planning Commission and the Council don't issue building permits, but those requirements will be spelled out in the development agreement for clarity. In terms of architecture, we did review that carefully with the applicant in terms of trying to make a cohesive development. In terms of materials, styles, they're not all identical, just like most of our others. But we try to have some sort of communication from a design perspective within the neighborhood or within the development or the neighborhood. And we feel that we've satisfied that. The building design requirements, materials, all meet or comply with our city code. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the site plan, concept review, and PUD with amendment and waivers, subject to the conditions that are outlined in the staff report. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barnhart. Appreciate that. Commissioners, do you have any questions of staff at this time from the staff report given? Okay, I just have a couple myself. Just as a matter of finding, I thought that the drive-through lane around the Starbucks being paved would require a front yard setback, but it's not a parking lot, so it's not a parking setback. So just as a matter of clarity, is that the case, Mr. Barnhart?
That's true.
Okay, all right, so we don't have to worry about a parking setback waiver for the drive-through lanes in general? That's true. That's policy, okay, thanks. You mentioned the landscape plan, and a couple questions about that. Could just be an error, but it looks like they're reconstructing the main entrance driveway off of Leona based on some grades, it looks like. So that whole driveway is going to get reconstructed. And there was a tree showing up kind of in the middle of that driveway for removal, and implying that maybe the driveway was going to shift off of the alignment of directly across the street from Best Buy. That's probably not the case. Maybe it's a graphical error. Could you just clarify that for me?
Yeah, I believe it's a graphical error. There shows an existing tree in the middle of the driveway. We'll double check that and correct that issue before it goes to City Council.
Okay, the intent is to have those driveways still aligned though across the street from Best Buy?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. On that main entry driveway, there's a nice landscape median between the Starbucks and that entry driveway, so that there can be, good queuing without having turns. Thank you for that graphic right there. On the left-hand side of this driveway graphic, there's a sidewalk, and then the Starbucks site. On the right-hand side, if you ignore that dashed black limit of construction line, there's more pavement before the parking starts. And I'm wondering, would painted striping be warranted on that entrance driveway to direct traffic and to funnel traffic, I guess would be a better word, so that cars don't wander or spread out because there's excess pavement between the parking area? Right, those parking stalls right there. There's another, maybe another 15 feet of asphalt between the parking stalls. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I visualize basically where this match line is
Yeah.
here. There could be a
Kind of a definition
line
of
or
the
something.
road.
Yeah, it's certainly we can look at.
Okay, just from a safety standpoint. Okay. And then I heard the applicant say that they just want to leave that northeast corner until they find out what they want to do with it. That said, it looks like they're building a fairly expensive and extensive stormwater underground chamber for the Planet Fitness site in the southeast corner of the property. And knowing that stormwater management will also be required for any redevelopment of that northeast parcel, just seems logical to me that maybe now would be the time to oversize that underground chamber a bit so as to be fully ready for stormwater compliance in the northeast quadrant. I don't know if engineering made any comment about that, or if that, I'm sure it's just the applicant's decision, but you could answer that if you'd like to as well. Sure.
That's a good point.
Good evening. My name is Matt Lingham with Kimley Horn. I'm the engineer in the project. So yes, we have oversized our underground system to accommodate any changes to that site as well. So we're working with the watershed and the city engineers, but any changes that come to that down the future, this stormwater system will have the capacity to handle. So that was the intent of the underground system.
Smart. Thank you.
Thanks. Yep, of course.
Any more questions, commissioners, before we move on to the public hearing? Okay, this is a public hearing. If anybody in our audience would like to address the commission, please come forward. Give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Connor O'Neill. I work as a property manager at Mid-America Real Estate. I am the property manager handling the retail center located at 11611 Leona Road. The owner, Eric Mueller, is traveling and asked me to represent him here tonight and answer any questions you may have. I know some of the concerns that we have already been addressed here, but our three concerns are maintaining the access drive wide enough to permit continuous uninterrupted two-way access to the center during all phases, maintaining a straight line exit from the drive-through to accommodate trash pickup 4 times per week, and those trash days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And the third is addressing visibility of the center both in tree trimming or removal and requiring adequate directional signage during construction. We hope that the commission will take action tonight to address these concerns. Thank you very much for your time. I am available to answer any questions you have to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Connor, was it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. If I understood your 4 concerns, many of them our commission maybe can't solve for you, but we're empathetic to your concerns. Could you repeat the second one about the trash removal?
Yep. So maintaining a straight line exit from our drive-through to accommodate the trash pickup. So the trash hauler goes straight down the opposite way of the drive-through, so not where Caribou come in, so the opposite way by Qdoba.
Between the 2 buildings?
Correct. And
Yep,
between
going south.
Old Office Depot and 11611 Leona Road. So they'll come down that drive lane and it picks up from the front and then, dumps the trash and then the recycling, and then it will back out that way.
Okay.
Because we have awnings, 2 awnings on the south side of the building there, and it's already been clipped by buses, trash haulers. We've had to repair it a couple times, so it's a tight squeeze around there.
Sure, okay. So are you suggesting that upon your review of the site plan, that the trash removal circulation is not acceptable? Or it appears that it's not being altered at all between the 2 buildings
Well, it's just during the phases. We're just concerned
during
that.
construction?
Correct.
I understand. Okay, all right. Okay, good. Well, I think if you articulate that to the people that are in charge of the phasing and things like that, that they'll certainly want to accommodate your needs, I would suggest. Same thing with the temporary signage and whatnot. I've heard, I believe in the packet, the applicant did say that they were going to phase the work to accommodate your needs and to provide adequate temporary signage. So I think that's a private matter between you and the applicant to work out the fine details of that.
Okay.
And I maybe could use some help, Mr. Barnhart, regarding the answer to the landscaping and the visibility to Flying Cloud Drive and what the scope of the pruning / cleaning up landscaping might involve for the benefit of this property?
Sure, and Matt can add anything that he'd like, but basically, we recognize during the review of the project that some attention needs to be made to the existing vegetation on the property. In areas it's overgrown or unhealthy and creating an issue that needs to be addressed. And so the applicant and the city will work together on identifying kind of the path forward in terms of modifications to the existing landscaping. That said, the intention is not to cut down all the landscaping so you have fantastic visibility off of Flying Cloud Drive. There's going to be a balance because the trees were there installed because of the city's requirements. And certainly some maintenance can be done, but the expectation should not be that all the trees will be removed.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a balance of kind of a natural resources that we all come to enjoy here in Eden Prairie, but then also how to support our business community.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
No problem.
I don't believe there are any other members of our audience that would like to speak at this point in time, so I would entertain a motion from the commission to close the public hearing, if you so choose.
Mr. Chairman, move to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner Kirk. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Second for Commissioner Grody. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The public hearing is closed. All right, Commissioners, we have a project in front of us. It's been very well presented to us. I'd appreciate your input, feedback, comments, criticism, accolades, whatever you so choose to add.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think that this has been a well-planned out site. I think my main concern has been regarding the drive-through stacking, essentially, for any type of drive-through that Starbucks has, and I think they've addressed it. Some of the questions that you've asked as well, Mr. Chairman, of staff, have clarified a lot of the questions that I had regarding safety and the median, and if there's ways that you can add some delineation of the driving lanes, I think that would be helpful. That's all I would add. I would be in support of this development.
Thank you, Commissioner Duncan. Appreciate that.
And Mr. Chairman, I would concur. I think this is one of those projects where there's a lot of details to take care of and details to keep, it to make the development as optimum as we can. And it seems that staff and the developer are working well together towards that means. So, and I think it's a good addition to the city. So I'm supportive of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Kirk. Appreciate that. I too find this project acceptable and very attractive. I like the design of the Starbucks. I think it's contemporary, at the same time fitting in with the existing buildings. It's a good idea, like your facelift of the old Office Depot for Planet Fitness. I'm sure their signage is going to be a statement by itself, but that's just good. Look forward to maybe another development in that northeast corner someday, but hopefully that decision can be made sooner than later. And I think that you have heard here enough commentary about the during construction phasing and the satisfaction of the existing tenants to remain viable and easy to navigate during some potentially dusty and noisy construction activities. So we'd appreciate your respect of those. And just in terms of findings of the waivers, I'm in favor, agreeable to the front yard setback waiver for the Starbucks. And the, what was the second waiver? I'm sorry, I what that was.
Pervious surface.
Yes, we're in the shoreland district.
Oh, the shoreline.
Yep, yep, for the 70%. So I think adequate background information is given by staff to support those waivers. Any other comments, concerns, questions? Okay, seems pretty straightforward. I will entertain a motion in case anybody doesn't have anything else to say.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that I move to recommend approval of the PUD concept review plan with the waivers and site plan for the 3.44 acres as represented in the August 26, 2024 staff report, subject to the conditions listed as well.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Duncan. Anybody wish to second that?
Second.
I'll go with Commissioner Sherwood on that. That was a close call. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. Good luck with the rest of your approvals. Next on the agenda, do we have a planner's report this evening? Jeremy?
None tonight.
All right. Any commissioner members' reports? Seeing none, I'd offer up the opportunity for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, motion and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nope. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good job.